very, very special Friday edition of LinkedIn Live. Don't Stop Us Now, the next generation of leaders. And today I have Hana Elliott with me. She is amazing. I've known her for quite some time. She is right now VP of Revenue at Vendition, and I think I pronounced that right. We'll ask her when she comes on. But one thing about Hana is that she is amazingly talented at knowing how to really capture the essence of getting good people to do good, getting good people to do good work. So let's invite her up. Hello, Hana.
Hey, Paula. It is so wonderful to see you. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, sure. Now, I hear you're a little under the weather. Is that?
A little under the weather. I think it is, and I'm sure people out there can empathize if you are a parent. I think that's just the life of a toddler in daycare. She got the cold,
Yeah.
and she's been waking up at midnight saying, "Mama, help! Mama, help!" And that's just my life these days. So
That's what you do. You help. And I remember those days. Now, my kids are 28 and 30, but, I think I build up quite a good immune system.
right.
Staying home and working with them too. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into a few things.
Paula, where do I start? What's most interesting? Where I am right now?
Everything is interesting about you, my friend. You need to know that. But yeah, let's start a little bit of general, what got you into VP of Revenue? Because you came from a marketing background, right?
Yeah, gosh, I've been on the product side. I've been in tech a while, but I've been on the product side. I've been on the marketing side. I've been on the demand gen side. So like in sales, I've been on the sales side. And so now the cool thing is that I get to mesh all of that together. And, one of the things, as an IC and practitioner in each of those realms that always bugged me is it felt like the teams were kind of at heads with each other and pointing fingers whenever I didn't get the pipeline that I wanted, or someone wasn't working the deal the way that I wanted, or the product wasn't selling itself, And so it's cool to try to break down those, be in a position where I can try to work to break down some of those silos and barriers and make sure that we have a really high functioning go-to-market team.
I love that. I absolutely love that because, I've been in a few businesses and I've talked to a few businesses where that when things are down, it's your fault I didn't get the leads. It's your fault for not going out and doing what I need you to do, right? So instead of passing the blame, we're starting to co-create and work together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. In your experience, my friend, I know that you work with a lot of next generation leaders. And what do they need to know about creating a diverse culture? And, are we headed in that right direction?
Yeah, I gotta start with a caveat, and that is that I'm not an expert. I think if DE&I is a personal goal at your organization, or an organizational goal, the best thing to do is to work with a specific DE&I practitioner, consultant. They have so many different ways that they can work with an organization. And that is by far the best thing to do. So I'm just here to share my personal experience.
That's all we really, your brilliance. And like you said, you're not an expert, but
right.
That's all we really want from you because you work with a lot of young professionals.
Yeah, and one thing, this isn't exactly answering your question, but one thing that's really interesting is, and I guess I should say, so Vendition works with tech and SaaS companies who are building out their sales development organizations. And looping back around to what your question was, one of our key things that we focus on is helping build more diversity into the tech sales profession. And that's why I am here. And that's just as a woman and as someone who is not white, that's just been really important to me my entire career. And so I say all that to say, we work with thousands of sales development candidates a year. We work with hundreds of hiring partners who are looking for really talented, diverse groups of candidates to bring onto their teams. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting as we look at trends for what these thousands and thousands of candidates are looking for. One of their top requests consistently is, I'm looking for an organization that has diverse, has programs in place that promote inclusion and belonging. I'm looking for an organization that has a goal of becoming more and more diverse every day. So just an interesting, like it's a legit trend. We see all of our candidates asking for that and turning down offers when that's not a stated goal of an organization.
That is so interesting. And I love that. And I love that the word that you used is belonging, right? Because I think that is a trend I'm seeing more of. People just want to feel like they belong to an organization. And that could be dated back for years and years and years. And to have those kind of programs in place where you feel, like you belong there, one, you're going to get higher retention rates. You'll probably get more productivity. You're going to get more focus. And sales development role is such an impactful role in the tech space, right?
It is. And it's also, I would argue, one of the hardest jobs to have. And so when you do have a day or a week where things just aren't hitting, and that's when the true resilience of SDRs, BDRs comes into play. Without having that connection to your company and to your peers, I think that can be a huge drop-off point for sure.
100%. I would even go so far to say that, I saw that in inside sales a lot. It was a very difficult, demanding job of the outbound calls, kind of quantity over quality, but that's changing. People are looking now more for quality over quantity, which I love. But when people were not getting the responses, if they didn't really feel that they belonged to an organization, it was easier for them to leave. Right?
Yes.
And so what does Vendition do? And where can people reach out to you? I would really love to know if you're helping people onboard, or tell me.
Yeah. Pardon me. So Vendition is a 90-day tech sales apprenticeship. We know data shows over and over again that the best way to learn is on the job, not in a bubble. Yeah. And so that's why we really believe in the power of the apprenticeship. Yeah, and we really care about our candidate pool and making sure that our SDRs ultimately are successful with their new employers. We're here to make sure that we're giving everyone a shot and their best shot at enjoying a career that Paula, you and I have found to be immensely fulfilling, lucrative. Everyone deserves a chance at it. And, I think historically in tech, if you didn't go to the right school or live in the right city to make the connections, or your parents weren't, connected in this way, then it's hard to break in. How do you know what to do? And so we're seeing that there's just so much talent out there that deserves a shot at this career that we've really enjoyed.
And yes, we have enjoyed it. And I'm back to enjoying it, right? Getting out there and creating, business and stuff on my own. But let me ask you, with COVID and everybody going remotely, is that offering up a whole new environment for people for that you're seeing, and that SDRs who can work remotely are just in so much need right now?
Yeah, it's, I was talking earlier about the trends that we're seeing in our candidate pool right now. And one of the other top things that they're looking for um, is a remote job opportunity. And, that's for so many reasons. Whether they did just come out of college, but the last 2 years of their college career have been remote. And so they're used to operating in that way, whether it's an additional need for flexibility or family or, um, whatever it is. It's definitely a request. And, again, we're seeing the employers who offer remote or even like hybrid working environments
Mhm.
much more competitive on the market for the top talent than the ones who are requiring in office all the time. But yeah, I think, we were talking about um, belonging and yeah, we were talking about belonging earlier. And I think in a remote environment, I certainly haven't figured it out. I don't know that anyone has. Um, how do you help someone, especially someone who's green and brand new in their career and just getting started and doesn't know tech lingo or whatever? How do you help them see how much a part of this organization that they really are when they're by themselves and isolated 24/7? I think it brings up a whole new host of um, challenges that I'm not sure that I've seen anyone truly crack the code on.
I don't think we have cracked the code, and I don't think we will crack the code. Before COVID, I know that we were at the company that I was at, we were looking at some different alternatives for hybrid situation. And it really came down to you have to earn it, 2 years in. So you get that belonging, you get that lingo, you understand listening to people around you, and then you can have the opportunity to work remotely. However, the problem with that too is then you don't have your senior level people there to teach and onboard new people coming in. So, that's going to be a tough code to crack.
Yeah, that's a great point. When we were coming up, for me on the like product and marketing side, sorry, a loud truck just drove by. For you, Paula, maybe more on the sales side, but when we were coming up, I learned so much of my job from just looking at the desk
Yeah.
next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for that reason too, I think one thing that comes up to me is like it's really easy to promote belonging, to teach, to develop connections with, and all those things that lead to retention
Mhm.
in an office environment because you're just there. You're talking about nonsense. You're seeing, um, you know, artifacts of people's lives on their desks and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. And so you're there. One thing that really comes up all the time is how much more intentional you have to be to make space to do those kinds of activities. And for um, a lot of people, that's really hard, right? I think some folks may look at remote work as like, oh, cool, I don't have to like chit chat anymore. We just get on this call and all we talk about is work for 30 minutes and then it's on to the next one. And gosh, you lose so much of again, those just little moments that lead to retention
I agree
Yeah.
with you because, one of my techniques when I was leading sales was to do a walk by one on one, a walk with one on one. And it wasn't really labeled that way, but we would, I would just say, hey, are you going to go to over here to grab a coffee? And I would walk, and that would be our time together, right? And it's hard to schedule 5-minute conversation to see what's on someone's desk. So belonging is those little intricacies that we see at a in a workspace environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're I don't know where we are in the Great Resignation now. Is that still happening? I don't know.
They're calling it the Great Resignation, the Great retirement, the great, all kinds of different things now. I think that there was a host of stuff that went into that great resignation. A lot of
Yeah,
people retired, a lot of people quit, a lot of people decided to work do something entrepreneurial, all of those things. So yeah, I'm not sure where it stands.
yeah, and I think I'm sure it's shifted a lot the last couple of weeks too, as we've been unfortunately seeing the news of some layoffs across our industry as well. But yeah, I think with these, well, I think a large portion of the recent wave of resignations, though, too, has been that in the last 2 years, it has been so much harder to feel connected to the people that you work with and to your organization, which means that it makes you a lot easier to leave.
It does. When you don't have that, when a employee doesn't have that sense of what we talked about, belonging, that sense of trust, that sense of this company has been, you know, I don't want to use the word family, because when you're at work, you're not family, but you are peers and you are connected by a what's the difference? I love this, and I just totally broke thought on that. So help me here. What is the difference between how did they put it? A team and a club. A team and a club. A team goes for the same goal. A club has the same interests,
Hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
if a team has the same goal, that's our work. But in that, we build a club because we have the same interests. And so I think a lot of when you think of team sports or club sports, you know, what what is the best value that you can bring? And for me, it's always attaining and going for the same goal. But if you can get into those same interests and have sort of a club side of it, then you have really the both and approach, the best, the side A, the side B that I always talk about.
Yeah, I think you need both for sure. And one thing that we see candidates asking a lot of too is about ERGs and BRGs, employee resource groups and business resource groups that um, allow individuals who identify in the same way and allies of that group and people who want to be involved to have that shared common interest. But, and again, no expert here, but it's something that we see our candidates looking for, no matter the size of the company they're joining, even if they're joining a 30-person startup, they're still looking for that representation, and also that representation, the certainty that their voice will be heard, and also knowing that they'll have a place to belong.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important. And I would go so far to say that maybe companies don't need to have this club, this club, this club, this club, because then you're separating everybody. But if you have a mentor and if you have representation, as you said, and you have maybe a luncheon, where everyone could come in and feel a part of that organization. I think that is really, to me, a great space for people to come together. And I'm not an expert on DEI, and I think it's DEI and A now because of handicap with access. So, I think that's a great point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, I think it's the layering of things, right? You want everyone to be able to connect with each other, and feel like they belong. You want specific groups of people, especially if they've traditionally been underrepresented, to know that they have a safe space that they can go to and participate in as well. Yeah, so I think it's just a layering of things, and it, as much as one would like to think that, well, I'm a great-hearted person who cares about this, it'll come naturally. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Especially in remote environments. And so it takes just truly intentional prioritization from leadership down, and intentionality to hold yourself accountable when you're in a whirlwind of your job every single day.
That's absolutely right. And that's what, when we talk about being intentional. And well, let me ask you first, what is your favorite song? You knew I was going to go there. Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know that I have one favorite song, but I will. On our AE team, we started our call last week talking about, like, what would your walk-up song be? If you're going to accept an award or give a speech or whatever, what would your song be? And mine was, so I'll just call out this one, but mine was Tribe Called Quest, Can I Kick It?
Ooh,
so that's what I'm going with.
All right. Tribe Called Quest. Can I kick it? I got to write that one down because I need to listen to that. Quest, kick it. So interestingly enough, and I think that that is a great way to start a meeting. And as you know from my book, it's all about music and leadership, metaphorically and literally, doing both and approach. Because for me, I believe you have to have the strategy, your side A resume skills, but you also have to have your emotional based skills. And we so much tend to only develop our side A, and our side B gets put on the back burner for so long until we realize that we're only looking at data and not people. So, I think by starting a business meeting, by starting a conversation, or even an email thread, what is your favorite song today? What are you listening to? That could bring some type of belonging into people, right?
Yeah, and it lets you, see commonalities across genres, and yeah, I'm just thinking about that particular call, and it was just so interesting to see, like, some folks really wanted, like, really upbeat, kind of current pop and hip hop, and
Mm-hmm.
the one I chose was a little more laid back, and then we had someone come in with just like a classic country song, and it was fascinating. It was a great conversation. And then, of course, we get into like pipeline review and all that kind of stuff, but everyone's
They're all
at
really
that point, everyone's open to hearing from everyone.
Absolutely. It's what music does. It's universal. It was, if you think about it, our first language, right? And really thinking about that, and I would challenge you or whoever put this meeting on to create a Vendition Spotify list with all of those songs on there.
Oh, we got it, Paula.
Oh, great.
We've done, I think every time we do a music related conversation, we add to the list. So we've done like favorite song, favorite workout song, walk-up song. And so we're kind of slowly building a playlist that eventually will be hours long, but right now is
There you go. And
not
that's
that long.
the leadership playlist. So next time, ask them what is the one song today that gets them up in the morning?
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, well, we've got about just a couple of minutes here left. I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on, not feeling well. You did a fantastic job.
Thanks,
Um,
Paula.
I couldn't have done this without you because, quite frankly, I miss speaking to you. So, let's connect over virtual coffee soon. But is there anything, one piece of advice that you could give um, up and coming leaders, not necessarily organizations, but up and coming leaders, high potential emerging leaders that they really need to think about for this next generation to show people or to have people feel that they belong to their team or their organization?
Um, this is definitely on the softer skill side of things, but I'd say don't center yourself. Um, one thing that I've seen a couple times is we expect people to communicate and use the same language and have the same priorities and interact and engage in the same way that we do. And when they don't do that, you think they're not doing a good job. And it's, that was a hard lesson for me, honestly, coming up in my career too. It still is because I always think I'm right. And so if I'm, if I'm not happy with how someone's communicating with me, it takes a second for me to stop and ask why. But I think the thing to remember is that everyone does come from a different background, especially if you are really working on building a diverse organization and a diverse team. Everyone comes from a different background. The language and jargon and acronyms and jokes that people use are different.
Yeah.
The expectations about communication are different. And, quite frankly, too, people bring in a lot of baggage from their past work environments, especially if you have been a minority of any kind in a past work environment. And so, I think my biggest piece of advice would be don't center yourself, especially if you're in a situation where you are trying to build a diverse team. Really think about and dig for intent on your team member side, and understand why before making any harsh judgments.
Yeah, I love that because I think we all learn that lesson growing or climbing the ladder. I know I did. I expected everyone to be just like me, and I think I tried to hire just like me, and it is a recipe for disaster. So great conversation. Thank you so much. Stay in the background, back office for me for just a minute,
Yep.
and I'll be right to you. Sorry, I took you off too quick.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Paula.
All right.